As I mentioned, my name is Fahed Suhweil. I'm a chemical engineer having 36 years experience, mostly in the operations of chemical fertilizer plants of the reputed SABIC of Saudi Arabia and PIC of Kuwait. Also, I was a plant manager of Jubail Chemical Industries Company, epoxy resins. I was in top management of these companies where I participated in the operation and in the critical decisions. I presented several papers at international symposiums. I traveled many countries where I presented my company as a senior manager. I'm trying to be brief in my subject. It is management response to safety and environment accidents. Slideshow. Skip. As you know, gentlemen and ladies, safety is a major issue in all chemical industries. Most of the attendants may agree to the exaggerated slogan, 99.9% safe is 100% unsafe. Of course, this is an exaggerated slogan. When we say 99.9% is 100% unsafe, I think there is an exaggeration. Awareness of safety and environment issues should be in mind from inception stages of any chemical plant. For example, we must select a safety location for the chemical plant. We have to know prevailing wind direction in that location distance from inhabited area and availability of external aid in case of severe emergency. Of course, this is from the inception stage. We can't, as you know, to install a plant downstream wind where there is, for example, a nearby city or crowded area. Management must be committed to a dynamic safety program. I'm going to give few examples of what I have experienced from plant accidents or near-miss incidents and management response. I'm going to concentrate on the management response rather than on the accident itself. I have taken 3 cases. Case 1, release of ammonia vapors from a chemical fertilizer complex. And this fertilizer complex was SAFCO and was located between 2 major cities, Dammam and Al-Khobar. At the time of construction, which was 1965, these areas were not very crowded and the plant or the complex was supposed to be far away from each of the cities, 15 kilometers from each. Case 2 will be on the explosion of a short steam drain line, which was in PIC, Kuwait. And this, by the way, caused an accident of 5 people who were permanently injured. Case 3, why plant production was stopped in early morning of 4 consecutive days. We have suffered a plant shutdown, no production each morning at 7:15 or 7:30 in the morning. The plant stopped and without any known reason. Investigation revealed nothing at that time. Okay, let's talk about release of ammonia vapors from a chemical fertilizer complex. SAFCO 1. It was a chemical fertilizer complex of ammonia, urea, and sulfuric acid plants with storage facilities for these products. It was built in Saudi Arabia in early 1965. It was located between two major cities, Khobar and Dammam, about 15 kilometers away from each of these cities. The complex had a neighboring large housing compound for the complex employees and their families. Later, after 1970, the two cities expanded and two highways were the complex was surrounded by two highways. One day, almost about 1400 hours, we had a failure of a critical compressor, which caused a big release of ammonia vapors, which could harm the inhabitants in the very close housing compound. By the way, the housing compound was having more than 700 people inside, families of the employees, passengers on the main road, and in the extreme case could reach any of the two cities. Luckily, qualified operation and safety staff managed to control the release, although some of ammonia vapors reached the nearby housing of the employees' families. Of course, gentlemen, nobody was harmed. Ammonia vapors reached the housing. No casualties. But who can stop this accident from being repeated in the same way or a different way? So the management has to take some response. What was the response of the management? We decided to make a dynamic safety program which involved all employees of all departments on the safety action they have to do. Even the administration, finance, housing, and medical staff were included in this program. That means what the medical section should do, what the finance people or the administration building will do in case of emergency like that, and if ammonia vapors or release of vapors reach a critical stage. So these people were included, of course, in addition to the operation and safety people, or everybody was included in this dynamic safety program. We made a very clear assembly points for emergency evacuation. Direction of prevailing winds was considered for these points. Evacuation was even the housing, which I said it was for the families of employees. So how to evacuate them in this case? There were evacuation points, and people, everybody knows what he has to do in case of emergency. Housing compound was also included in the evacuation plan. We were not training the housing families or the families in the housing. We trained the housing superintendent, the supervisors, and the guards to how to evacuate the residents in case of emergency and where to. We decided to make a bi-weekly surprising fire or evacuation drill. Timing of the drill was not known to any employee, even the safety employees. That means every 2 weeks, we made a fake drill, sometimes a major fire. We say that there's a major fire, and sometimes we say that people have to be evacuated. Sometimes we say the housing families have to be evacuated, and the timing of this drill was not known to anybody, even the safety manager or the operations manager or anybody, but just we select 2 or 3 people to decide what is the problem they are going to make and what time is it. They decide and nobody knows. And we don't know that's a real or it's a drill. Of course, I mentioned that we were located between 2 major cities. So civil defense of the Eastern Province was included in an annual joint safety drill, which assumed a safety evacuation with even some casualties. So the civil defense of the Eastern Province, Khobar and Dammam, were in a joint drill. They have their part and we have our part, and we assume that there is some casualties have to be evacuated. These casualties can be in the plant or could be in the housing, or it can be in the nearby cities.
We have 3 minutes.
Okay. In preparation to remove this old complex from this risky location, management decided to build a new petrochemical project in the modern Jubail industrial city. So from this incident opened our eyes that we have to move this complex from in between the 2 cities and move elsewhere. The second accident there was an explosion of a short steam line in PIC Kuwait. This short steam line, unfortunately, is just resulted in severe injury of 5 workers in PIC Kuwait. One of them, by the way, it was a permanent injury, disabling injury. The drain had 2 valves. The operator opened the upstream valve before the downstream valve. This was a wrong operation practice. I mean, he was not given the proper training, maybe. But the most important, this piece between the 2 valves exploded as it was found to be a low pressure piece. This was a deadly mistake by the plant designer. The plant designer did not, to save some money, he made this small piece a low pressure instead of making it a high pressure. So when the operator made his mistake, this exploded. But even with the mistake, it should not explode if the design was not a problem. From basics of engineering and safety, the connecting pipe between the 2 high pressure and low pressure sides should always be designed for high pressure, which was not our case. Basics of operation should teach the operator to operate the downstream valve first, not the upstream.
2 minutes, Mr. Fahed.
All right. Management response. After the investigation, we concluded that the contractor of the petrochemical complex had tried to save construction costs with no concern to such small drains. Anyway, we have to review the whole complex design to find if we have similar cases, and we find some other similar cases. Of course, in addition to the saving which he tried to make, he made no silencers and any of the high pressure. We had a pressure, our pressure system was there. For example, steam 130 bars, gas 300 bars, etc. He did not make any of these silencers. Okay, I want to make this design. It was the designer and the contractor mistake. And in case 2, case 3, which also I'm trying to make, production was stopped in early morning, as I mentioned, of 4 consecutive days. And when on investigation, I tried to go as an operation manager to the plant, and when it was really stopped, the emergency stopping of the plant, that was found to be the compressor trip